The Lion and the Loom. Chapter 26. Quiet before the storm. The Spiral City's twilight wrapped the trio in a gentle hush. The winding streets glowing softly with ancient light. Beneath the boughs of the threaded grove, they gathered, not as warrior, guardian, and guide, but simply as souls, seeking solace and understanding. Eris spoke first, her voice calm and open. Before the dreaming, before the threads, I was just a child lost in the spiral, searching for meaning in the silence. Celis nodded slowly, her usual armor of certainty softened. I was raised in the Citadel's cold halls, taught to trust only the gears and laws. But meeting you both has unraveled more than just threads. The lion settled close, a silent guardian, its steady breath a balm to frayed nerves. A reminder of ancient strength woven through vulnerability. They lit a circle of glowing threads, each adding a strand representing hope, fear, courage, and doubt. Together, they wove the strands into a delicate braid, a symbol of their emerging bond. In the quiet between heartbeats, Eris, Celis, and the lion shared a silent vow to face whatever unraveling came next, not as lone threads torn apart, but as a woven tapestry, stronger together. The Spiral City's spirals curled tighter here, veiling narrow alleys and secret doorways beneath layers of mist and shadow. They moved with quiet purpose, in unity. Following whispered paths known only to those who listened closely, they arrived at the secret quarter, a place woven between worlds, where outcasts, dreamers, and forgotten beings gathered. Lanterns glowed with soft hues, and strange melodies drifted through the air like tendrils of smoke. From the shadows emerged the Echo Weavers, keepers of lost stories and forgotten dreams. Their eyes shimmered like fragments of broken mirrors, reflecting both past and possible futures. A fragile alliance, the Echo Weavers listened as Eris spoke of the Loomstone, the rising thread of the clockmakers, and the fragile balance between dreaming and order. After moments heavy with silence, the leader stepped forward. "The dreaming is our breath and blood," she said softly. "We will stand with you, but the threads of trust must be woven carefully." The weavers offered gifts, strands of enchanted thread, each humming with protective power, but their eyes held caution. "Beware the shadows that hunt Celis," the leader warned. "Not all within the clockmakers move as one." A growing web, with new allies joining their cause. The trio felt the web of resistance begin to strengthen. The Spiral City stirred with quiet hope, a tapestry waiting to be woven anew. The Lion and the Loom. Chapter 27. Loom of Secrets. The secret quarter held its breath. Around Eris, Celis, and the lion, the Echo Weavers moved like living shadows, spinning unseen threads through the air, threads of memory, protection, and fate. By moon thread light, the weavers revealed their loom, an ancient, shimmering device that responded to thought and song. Each thread they spun was a memory rescued from the brink of forgetting. "We do not fight as others do," the matriarch said. "We unravel what has been concealed. We remember what order seeks to erase." They spun 3 cloaks, one for each traveler, woven from memory and dream, each imbued with a unique gift. Eris's cloak whispered of forgotten names and opened hidden doors. Celis's cloak dulled the weight of guilt and shimmered with adaptive camouflage. The lion's cloak bore no color, but when unfurled, silenced all illusions. That night, one of the weavers took Eris aside and spoke softly. "You must know this. Not all clockmakers follow their prime." In the winding tunnels beneath the Spiral City, a small faction within the clockmakers had begun to question the rigidity of their purpose. Among them was a name Velian, a former architect of the inner mechanism, now vanished. Possibly watching, possibly waiting. At dawn, Eris, Celis, and the lion stood on the threshold of departure. Their cloaks rippled with stored power. The Loomstone pulsed steadily beneath Eris's hand. A new map, given by the weavers, shifted and shimmered in response to their thoughts. The weavers offered a final blessing. Thread by thread, the dreaming returns. But beware, the clockmakers now move toward a convergence, one that may end the spiral altogether. The Lion and the Loom. Chapter 28, Convergence Paths. That night, Eris dreamed. But this was no ordinary dream. She stood in a vast chamber of copper and obsidian, surrounded by humming gear, trees, and suspended time globes. There Velian worked, hands delicate, eyes haunted. He whispered to a phantom loom, unspooling not time, but possibility. They do not understand, he murmured to no one. The spiral is not meant to close. Its purpose is movement, not control. Then he looked up, straight at Eris. Find me before they do. The Weaver's legacy runs through you now, and the convergence is already turning. A soft shudder of reality, and Eris woke, breathless, the image seared within. Guided by the Weaver's shifting map, the trio journeyed beneath the spiral city into its oldest strata. The cradle vaults where abandoned mechanisms still breathed. The lion sniffed the air like memory had a scent. Silas moved with purpose, once an enemy of the rogue clockmaker, now possibly his only hope. They passed glyphs etched in mirror steel, signs that only Velian would use, recursive spirals, broken clock hands. And then, a voice from the shadows. You are late. Velian emerged, older, wearied, draped in a cloak that shimmered like evaporating logic. He looked first at Eris, then Silas. The dreaming must awaken, or all will turn to silence. Far above, in the obsidian spire, the prime clockmaker watched the spirals tighten through the eye of regulation. Her hands moved without pause, adjusting dials, erasing divergences. Around her stood the other architects, silent and obedient. The dreaming has become infection, she said. Emotion breeds chaos. Chaos unravels pattern. The spiral must be sealed. Behind her, a diagram pulsed. The convergence engine, a towering mechanism designed to seal the dreaming permanently, collapse divergent timelines, and convert all memory into code. She turned to her second in command. Begin phase 0. The child, the traitor, and the beast must not reach the loom. The Lion and the Loom. Chapter 29. Threads of Rebellion. They followed Velian into a forgotten atrium, humming faintly with residual dream energy. A place outside the clockmaker's surveillance web. There, he revealed a fractured diagram, glowing softly. The original Loom core, not a machine of suppression but one of synthesis. The spiral wasn't built to control the dreaming, Velian explained. It was built to hold it, nurture it. We twisted its purpose. But deep in the center, the ancient Loom still spins truth. He turned to Eris. You are a descendant of the first dreamers. The Weaver's threads recognize you, and through you, the dreaming can be reawakened. Then he placed a broken dial into her palm. The key of unbinding, once his greatest act of rebellion. But not all was steady. That night, tensions flickered between them. Silas stood apart, haunted by the echo of commands once obeyed. How many lives did I help erase? She asked the lion quietly. And now I wear a cloak of dreams, like it changes what I've done. The lion did not answer, only stepped closer, pressing its great head against Silas's chest in silent absolution. And Eris, seated with Velian, whispered, What if I fail? What if I wake it wrong? Velian's eyes were tired, but firm. Then we fall asleep forever. But I've seen what you carry. The Weaver never would have chosen you if you weren't the thread we needed. By the next morning, their course was clear. They would infiltrate the Loom core itself. Buried beneath the central spiral, where time folds and memory rewrites itself. Their mission to reach the heart spindle, to activate the true Loom, and release the sealed dreaming. But the convergence engine would already be online, and the prime clockmaker would sense their approach. Velian handed each of them a final thread, a memory token. If you fall, this will carry the last echo of who you were. They stood once more at the edge of the spiral's final gate. 3 cloaked figures and a silent lion. No longer bound by origin or role, but by choice, by courage, by thread. The Lion and the Loom. Chapter 30. The Threshold of Echoes. Before they reached the Loom core, the spiral city itself responded. The air grew still. Light bent, and one by one, they were drawn inward, into a mirrored pocket of dream space. known in ancient lore as the threshold of echoes, a place between waking and woven, where the spiral tested not the body, but the heart. Aries found themselves alone in a garden made of memory. Here bloomed their earliest laughter, the scent of someone they lost, a lullaby once sung to silence the dark. From the shadows came a voice, their voice, but older. Are you ready to lose who you've been? To become who the dreaming needs? They knelt beside a flower shaped like the weaver's thread. It pulsed softly in their palm, and did not burn. Sela stood in a corridor of doors, each labeled with names she erased. The hallway stretched endlessly, a monument to their service. At the far end, a child stood holding a shattered gear. Will you rebuild what you helped destroy? The child asked. Celis did not speak, she only knelt, placing the gear to her chest. It embedded there, glowing faintly, no longer a weapon, but a wound transformed. Velian wandered through a tangle of spiraling staircases, each leading back to a moment of decision. He chose silence every time. But now, one stair pulsed differently, woven from thread, not steel. At the top stood the weaver, not a person, but a pattern. Infinite, patient, warm. You were the first to betray me, it whispered. Will you be the first to forgive yourself? Velian wept, and for the first time in decades, he took a new step forward. Even the lion was tested. It stood in a desert of white sand, and from the sky fell masks of every beast it had ever been. Guardian, predator, guide and weapon. Then a cub emerged, not of flesh, but light, and nuzzled its paw. You do not need to carry every story, it seemed to say, only the one that roars from truth. The lion lay down. For a moment, it was just a creature. Then it arose whole. They awakened, together, in the chamber before the Loom core gate, changed. Each bore a glowing mark, not of rank, but of readiness. The spiral had tested them, and they had not shattered.